This is our town!
For months in Kentucky,
All right, let's watch
residents
this, chat.
outraged by the killing of Breonna Taylor campaigned for the police officers who shot her to face charges.
Commonwealth of Kentucky versus Brett Hankison.
In September, a grand jury investigation indicted one officer for shooting into a neighbouring apartment and no one for killing Taylor.
Respect the decision of the grand jury. I will grant the motion and assign bond in the amount of $15,000 full cash and issue a warrant.
Is that it? Is that the only charge? It can't be it. It can't be it.
No one has been held accountable. This is injustice, and this is the start clock for the next level of our protest.
What happened in the final minutes of Breonna Taylor's life? A full telling of that story has been impeded.
13-minute areas. Thank you,
because
Board
none
of Tears.
of the 7 police officers who raided her apartment used body cameras, a violation of police policy. But, with the recent release of thousands of documents and images collected during 3 investigations, the Times initiated a fresh examination of the case. We used crime scene photos to create a precise model of Taylor's apartment. We forensically mapped out and retraced the first bullet fired by Taylor's boyfriend and the 32 bullets that police shot in return, through windows, walls and ceilings. Using interviews officers gave to investigators, we charted their movements as they carried out the raid. And we analysed hours of 911 calls,
this is amazing
grand jury
work.
proceedings, and footage by the SWAT team that arrived after the shooting.
This is amazing work. Has there been new charges placed on the
Members of
officers
the grand
responsible?
jury have
No.
accused Kentucky's Attorney General, Daniel Cameron, of shielding the officers involved from homicide charges.
Our investigation found that Mattingly and Cosgrove were justified in their use of force.
Boom, 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 boom.
Sergeant Mattingly may have been justified in returning fire when he's fired upon, but our new analysis paints a more complicated picture about how this raid was compromised from beginning to end. We'll outline the flawed intelligence and tactical mistakes of a hodgepodge team of officers, their failure to properly announce their presence at Taylor's, the chaos and excessive use of force that ensued,
Okay, there's another hole right below the clock.
and we'll explore the damning analysis of an experienced SWAT commander who was called to the scene after the shooting.
We just got the feeling that night that something really bad happened.
They can do charges. Yes,
The
they
focus
can.
of the police investigation on
No, can't do new charges, can they? Due to double jeopardy laws, unless they can find something else to charge. No. Jeopardy only attaches at trial. Jeopardy does not attach from a grand jury finding. Also, they didn't attempt to charge any of those guys for murder. So they're still able to try to bring another charge. There was no trial, and jeopardy doesn't apply until there's an actual verdict.
March 13th. It's
So
not
there's
Taylor's
no
apartment.
double
The
jeopardy to try to
property's
bring
10 miles
charges
away
against
in
them. They
West
could just bring
Louisville,
charges if they want.
Hands behind your back, boss. We're executing a search warrant. Come out.
where dozens of SWAT and police officers arrest an ex-boyfriend of Taylor's and his associates and seize evidence including drugs. These officers are wearing their body cameras and they carry out the raid safely and without incident. What the SWAT team doesn't know is that at this time, a hastily assembled team of narcotics officers is about to raid Taylor's home across town. They suspect her ex-boyfriend keeps cash or drugs there, but their intel is poor. They don't know she has a new boyfriend and they think she lives alone. When 7 officers begin the raid at 12:40 a.m, they notice the lights are off, except for the flicker of a TV in a bedroom.
The light on the bedroom, the TV. I remember seeing it lit up blue when we pulled up.
Suggesting they know where Taylor is. In less than 3 minutes, she would be fatally shot.
Wow,
Inside,
this is insane.
Taylor had dozed off while watching a movie with her boyfriend, Kenneth Walker. Adjacent is the bedroom of Taylor's sister, but she's not home. A hallway from the bedrooms leads to a living area, and the apartment's entrance is in this breezeway. The only light is this lamp opposite her door, where now the police begin to stack. In this reconstruction, we hear the official testimonies given by the 2 officers nearest the door, Mattingly and Nobles, Cosgrove, who's providing cover, and Hoover and Hankinson beside them. And we'll hear from neighbours and Kenneth Walker, who was interviewed by police right after the shooting.
Wow, this is
We all
unbelievable.
got up in line. I knocked on the door, banged on it.
Just as Mattingly begins to knock, a man emerges from the apartment directly above. He doesn't live there, but is picking up his child after finishing work.
The door right there, that's why the babysitter lives. So I came to pick up my little girl.
A squabble with Detective Brett Hankerson ensues, and already the team seems on edge.
I remember Brett extending his gun saying, get back in your apartment, get back in your apartment. Brett was a little bit worked up. I remember looking at Brett saying, Brett, relax. Brett, just relax, relax.
The man retreats inside.
They pointed a gun at a guy for walking out of his apartment. That should be a criminal assault right there. Right off the bat. Unbelievable. Let it be known the cops turned off their body cams during all of this. Yeah, exactly. This is unbelievable.
Conducting a knock and announce raid, but that's not what Mattingly says happens at first.
We didn't announce the first couple because our intent was to give her plenty of time to come to the door.
Inside, Taylor wakes up.
So it's a loud bang at the door. She pops up out of her sleep. It scared her to death. Me too. Like, who is that?
Banged on the door, no response. Banged on it again, no response. At that point, we started announcing ourselves.
Whether the police announce themselves clearly enough is a critical issue in this story that we'll return to later on. Not knowing who's at the door this late, Walker grabs his licensed handgun.
Another knock at the door. She's like, who is it? Loud at the top of her lungs. No response. So I'm like, what the heck?
They rush to get dressed and walk toward the door.
We never even made it, like, mid-hallway. But as loud as we were screaming to say who it is, I know whoever would be on the other side of the door could hear us.
Outside, some of the police do hear Taylor.
I can hear somebody inside. I kept telling John, I can hear her.
But after knocking and waiting for around 45 seconds, they decided they've given her enough time to...
All right, let me get this straight. You're dead asleep in bed. Assume you're in your underwear or nude. Somebody knocks at your door at 1 o'clock in the fucking morning by banging on it, like hard enough that the hinges shake. You shout, who is it? And there's no response. Would you not be frightened? I know that I would be like, what the hell is going on?
Respond and ram the door open.
The last time I just said, let's just hit it. And that's when we did the, police search warrant.
We'll show here what the police and Walker describe seeing next.
And I hit it. After the third hit, it flew open. And that's when it hit the fan.
As we're coming to the door like comes off the hinges like an explosion.
The officers now make a tactical mistake. Mattingly steps into the doorway and puts himself in what police describe as the fatal funnel, a position vulnerable to gunfire and hard to move from.
I could see down the hallway, and there's the male and a female, side by side, shoulder to shoulder, almost like they were together.
The apartment is lit only by the breezeway light that's coming from behind Mattingly and the faint glare of the TV in Taylor's bedroom.
You can't see anybody, though. It was dark. There was no lights.
Thinking it's an intruder, Walker aims low, shoots once, and hits Mattingly in the thigh.
I feel like I aimed down, because I wasn't, of course, I don't need to kill anybody, so I just let off one shot.
Mattingly immediately returns fire.
I got 4 rounds off, and it was like boom, 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 boom.
Then all of a sudden, there's a whole lot of shots.
Mattingly fires 2 more rounds when he falls and takes cover. Almost at the same time, Cosgrove moves in and fires, stepping on Mattingly in the process. He has now also put himself in the fatal funnel, and although he's shooting, he appears to have no idea what's happening.
I see blinding, vivid white light and blackness at the same time. I don't hear any gunfire at all, ever. And I did not have any pain sensation or any recollection that I'm firing.
He continues shooting blindly until he runs out of ammunition, a total of 16 rounds.
If you told me I didn't fire a gun, I'd be like, okay, I believe you.
In response to Walker's shot, Mattingly and Cosgrove together fire 4 shots into a chair, cupboards, and a stove in the kitchen. 2 bullets go into the ceiling and pass through the living room in the apartment above, where the man, his 2-year-old daughter, and babysitter waited. 3 more shots go into the living room wall to the right. And the officers fire 13 rounds down the hallway where Taylor and Walker stood. Taylor is shot 6 times on both sides of her body, in the abdomen and chest, her arm and leg, and twice in her foot. In all, these two officers fired 22 rounds in less than a minute. An FBI ballistics report found that both of them shot Taylor, and that one of the 16 rounds Cosgrove fired was the lethal bullet.
We both dropped to the ground, but I just hear her screaming, and
Thinking they're under attack, some of the officers flee when they hear a pause in shooting.
There was a little bitty moment of no shots. I was like, here's the time to go, and then it all started up again.
We don't know the precise sequence of events, but Detective Hankinson runs to the front.
I can hear the firing as I'm going.
Smith, I understand.
As I'm making the corner. I can see the flashes, the muzzle flashes.
But
I understand if this is, I apologize, Chad. If this is too intense, I understand it. But this has to be known. This has to be known. How the police operate in this country this is an important story. We've got to teach people the absolute criminal abuse of power and how, most importantly, not only did they murder this woman, it was covered up at the highest levels of the Kentucky state government. And you're only going to find that out if there's light on it. I don't want to see images of Breonna Taylor dead. I really don't. We're going to skip over any blood or scenes that we can. But this is absolutely has to be known. They absolutely, and they blindly fired wildly and insanely without announcing their presence.
Though all the curtains are drawn, Hankinson blindly fires 5 bullets through the patio windows.
My only option was to return fire.
And they just started shooting blindly! No one's shooting back! They're just hammering shots and they don't even see anyone!
He moves and fires 5 more rounds through the bedroom window of Taylor's sister, who isn't home. 2 bullets fly over Walker and Taylor, but none hits them. The bullets that go into the living area pass over Taylor's sofa and kitchen table and smash her clock. 3 penetrate the wall and enter her neighbour's apartment. Those bullets also smash the kitchen table, hit a wall, and shatter the patio doors at the rear. A pregnant woman, her son and partner were home. Hankinson has been charged with wantonly endangering their lives. In total, the police fire 32 bullets, penetrating almost every room in Taylor's apartment. They hit saucepans, cereal boxes, and smash into her shower. They puncture shoes, shatter cleaning equipment, and land in her sister's clothing. And, 3 minutes after police came to search her home, a fatally wounded Taylor is lying on the ground.
I'm just panicking and I'm telling somebody, I'm yelling help because she's right here bleeding and nobody's coming, and I'm just confused and scared, and I feel the same right now. That's it.
And he actually explained. He actually answered the fucking cops' questions. He answered the cops' questions.
Daniel Cameron presented the charges against Hankinson and said that Mattingly and Cosgrove's actions were justified. He emphasised that police did properly announce themselves.
Evidence shows that officers both knocked and announced...
Liar! Wait, you're telling me that the hardened drug dealers who across town were being served a warrant by the SWAT team didn't resist, but Breonna Taylor, an EMT, and her boyfriend decided they were going to go guns blazing with no drugs and no money in their house? The logic is so blatantly offensively wrong. It should strike you as such a blatant lie that I can't believe he's out there even trying to say it. Cops are at the door. Yeah, let's try to shoot him. Good plan.
Their presence at the apartment.
But actually, the evidence is far from clear. In 911 calls immediately after the shooting, Taylor's neighbours don't know police are carrying out a raid.
Please get a police out here. They are shooting bad. Something's going on next door, and there's bullet holes all the way through the wall, through our glass. I have a 5-year-old in here, so something needs to be explained to me.
And in statements police took afterwards, none of Taylor's neighbours heard the officers announce. This apartment's patio door was open.
I mean, I was completely unaware that it was cops.
Two teenagers in this apartment heard a commotion but didn't hear police announce through their open window, their mom said.
They told me that nothing was said, that they just beat on the door. I said, so y'all don't know if it was them? She was like, they didn't say nothing, they just beat on the door.
And the family who lived directly above Taylor also heard nothing.
Before the gunshots come out, did you hear anything?
Conversations or anything like that? People talking? No.
In their statements and in interviews with The Times, over a dozen neighbours say they did not hear the police. Attorney General Cameron's assertion rests on the accounts of police officers and a single witness, Aaron Sarpy, the man collecting his daughter that night and who saw the police when he came outside. In his first interview with investigators, Sarpy was asked what he heard when he went back inside.
Did you ever hear anyone identify themselves as police?
No, nobody identified themselves.
Months later, he told police his memory was foggy, but that he thought officers did announce. And beyond what the police said, this critical grand jury conclusion rested on his entirely inconsistent account. After the raid, the scene outside is chaos. Officers tend to Mattingly, but an ambulance that had been staging nearby is nowhere to be found.
Fuck is EMS? They were 15 minutes away. Somebody give me the radio with SWAT on it.
They radio the SWAT officers across town,
EMS on Spring.
who are surprised by the call.
Where's Springfield? They're requesting armor down there. We're gonna go ahead and take it. Let's go, let's go, let's go.
They head for Taylor's address.
It's an apartment.
I didn't know they were in that tonight. I knew it was part of the investigation.
As SWAT arrives, close to 40 police vehicles are already at the scene.
Look at how they're not doing it. Look how much money is wasted in our society. Look at how much money is being poured into this ruthless gang. We don't have enough to feed children or buy books for schools or fill in potholes or build a solar panel or do a single thing for the people. But we got 40 fucking cop cars, an armored personnel carrier full of cops to go attack an innocent woman.
Around this time, Taylor's boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, is being arrested.
You've been hit by a bullet. That's unfortunate. Keep walking backwards.
That's unfortunate.
Walk backwards. Keep walking backwards. You're scared, right? Walk back, or I'll send this dog. Walk back to me.
Walker had called 911 and neighbours had heard his pleas for help.
You go to fucking prison, that's what's going on.
But at 1 a.m., almost 20 minutes after the shooting, the police still don't know Taylor is critically injured inside.
20 minutes! They left her bleeding to death on her apartment floor at 1 a.m.
Somebody in there dead? Yeah, my girlfriend. It's her house. We have to go in if there's somebody. Yeah. What is this about? My girlfriend is dead.
I don't get. Keep walking.
As Walker is being led out, SWAT gets ready to secure the apartment.
Hey, there's a kid upstairs. He's not. It's a kid upstairs, little kid.
What the? Hey, front door, front door. Yeah, front door.
Outside, the SWAT officers debrief on what they've seen.
Hey, camera's off there, bike here. Yeah, mine's off. This is the fucking one that said that it is today.
The SWAT commander who was called to Taylor's home after the raid was later interviewed by investigators.
We just got the feeling that night that something really bad happened.
Dale Massey, a 20-year police veteran, was highly critical of what unfolded. He said there was no coordination with SWAT.
We had no idea they were going to be at that apartment that night. I would have advised them 100% not to do it.
And that executing another warrant at the same time may have compromised Taylor's safety.
We treat safety very important, right? So like simultaneous warrants, bad business.
Narcotics officers testified that they didn't know Taylor had a new boyfriend, that her sister lived there, or that her 2-year-old goddaughter regularly stayed. Massey said the department had a history of poor intelligence gathering.
Back in the day, we would take a lot of detective information and take it as golden. Not anymore, because so often there's no kids, there's no dogs, we're told, there's kids and dogs. So we have an exhaustive recon process that we go through.
He said standing in the doorway, the fatal funnel, as Mattingly and Cosgrove had, was a tactical mistake.
Is it practical, or is it even common for 3 people to be in what we consider the fatal funnel?
Absolutely not, no. You would never put, yourself in that situation.
And that there's a right way and a wrong way to conduct a raid. You knock, announce, and give people ample time to leave.
We're not going to rush in to get dope. We're not going to treat human life more important than any amount of dope, right?
And just to be clear, no drugs were ever found at Taylor's. His harshest criticism was of Hankinson's blind shots into the apartment.
You have to know, A, what you're shooting at, B, what's in front of it, and B, what's behind it. There's no other way you can operate. It was just an egregious act.
Under Kentucky law, Kenneth Walker had a right to stand his ground against what he believed was an aggressor, and the police in turn have a right to self-defense. But in this analysis, the killing of Breonna Taylor resulted from poor planning, compounded by reckless execution.
Okay, when they attack the house without following the law, without announcing themselves, without giving the occupants a reasonable expectation of who they were, with doing all those things, they no longer get to claim self-defense. They're invading a home. They're aggressing a home by violating the law. And if they shoot someone while doing it, that's murder. That's not self-defense. The self-defense was Kenneth Walker, who fired one shot and hit his target. They were murderers.
Louisville has instituted police reforms, and Taylor's family received a substantial settlement. But the case isn't closed. Investigations and lawsuits are ongoing. And 9 months after Taylor was killed, her family is seeking a fresh inquiry into the officers involved.
Unfucking believable. What would you do if someone busted your door now in the middle of the night? By the way, why are they doing no-knock raids? Because they don't want someone to flush some dope down the toilet. This is the drug war. They're doing these highly militaristic raids to get a little bit of heroin or who the fuck cares? And she wasn't a drug dealer. There were no drugs there. There wasn't even weed there. Imagine that. Imagine looking at that and defending it. Imagine looking at that and covering it up. It was covered up. It was covered up.
Live coverage on C-SPAN, cspan.org.
It was covered up.
Live coverage on C-SPAN.
All right, looks like the Senate has adjourned. Unless somebody else has different coverage. It looks like they weren't able to get the Defense Department bill passed. If you could flush it that quickly, it would have been enough to sell and warrant a raid. Exactly, Silent Chaos. Didn't they drop the charges against the boyfriend? Yes, of course they dropped the charges against the boyfriend. He did nothing wrong. The boyfriend did nothing wrong. Absolutely nothing wrong whatsoever. Nothing wrong.